Now, if you've ever had the misfortune of talking about Sonic the Hedgehog online, you might notice that a lot of people have some really controversial takes. Or at least takes that seem controversial just due to the sheer amount of different opinions surrounding the Hedgehog. There's always going to be at least one person who likes every single Sonic game. It's just how it is because of how many there are. So as much as you and I may not like it, there's always going to be that one person who thinks Sonic Spinball is the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to pass on this one. But it's like I said, a take that seems really normal for one person might seem really stupid to another. So in this video I not only wanted to talk about hot takes, but give out some of my own. Now of course we gotta start off with what I think is my most iconic take, and that is that Sonic Forces, it's actually not too bad.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Now it's by no means my favorite Sonic game, not even close. I don't even think it scratches the top 15. But you know, I can have some fun with it. I boot it up every now and again, play through some of the boost levels, the music is good, the visuals are good. The Sonic Forces knows what it wants to be and does it well. You can turn off your brain and relax for a bit, and that's all it's trying to be. Now the reason why so many people hate this game is because the trailers made it out to be something more. And I do agree that these trailers are really manipulative in a way, making you think that Sonic Forces was going to be great, when in reality it's nothing more than a short bit of mind-numbing entertainment. That being said, the most fun I do have in this game is taking advantage of some of the tricks you can pull off with the Air Boost and the Drill Wisp one for the Avatar. That leaves Classic Sonic as the worst part of the game in my opinion, and I don't think many people are going to disagree with me. Probably the main reason why I actually like Sonic Forces is because I wasn't around to get burnt by the trailers. I wasn't a Sonic fan back then, so I still see this game for what it actually is, and that's not much, but it's kind of fun to run through every now and again. I don't think this game is worse than 06, I don't think it's worse than Shadow the Hedgehog. It's a fun enough game to play through every now and again, but it's just nothing more than that. Now there is a Sonic game that I was around to get burned by, and that is Sonic Frontiers. I was really expecting this game to be something special, a game that we really didn't get from Sonic Forces, but unfortunately I just didn't end up liking this one. I mean, at first I thought it was great, but then after playing it more I just realized more and more of its flaws. From the pathetic level and asset reuse of cyberspace to collision issues in the overworld, the game was just not polished and not fun enough to warrant any more of my time. I feel like the weakest aspect of Sonic Frontiers is the level design. In the open world it feels like you don't have to interact with anything, but when you do interact with the level design, it's just simple automated stuff that you've seen before in Sonic Forces. It really feels like there hasn't been a major evolution of the formula going forward. They've just put Sonic in an open world and put a bunch of small Forces levels everywhere. And that really hurts the visuals as well, because Sonic Frontiers is, in my opinion, the worst stylistic Sonic game since, like, ever. The decision to insert all the platformer on these blocky, awkward platforms just makes the game look so incoherent and ugly. But hey, if you like it, all power to you. But with that, let's move on to some other games. Now this next one is actually the source of a lot of controversy for me early on, and that's my stance on Sonic P06. P06 is a fan game created by Chaos X made to remaster Sonic 06 into something a little bit more playable, and I can really commend the work that they did on this project. It really does turn 06 into something that's at least tolerable, but for me, that's where it kinda ends. I still don't think that Sonic 06 has engaging level design or controls. Now the controls are made better in P06, but still, I just don't think any of the level design flows together that well. It always felt so basic to me. It's not as engaging as the adventure games, it's not as fast-paced as the boost games, there's just nothing special to it. It doesn't utilize momentum in any interesting ways, it doesn't make you interact with the level design in any interesting ways, it's just sort of standard platforming that just never really clicked with me. That being said, I think the work that Chaos X and his team did on this is absolutely amazing. They really took Sonic 06 and made it into something that's actually worth playing. And this is something I don't think I gave them nearly enough credit for in my original video. But hot takes don't have to be about games either, it can be about the series' direction or other media. For example, I don't think Sonic the Hedgehog games should try to integrate combat, or at least when they integrate combat, they should try it in a different way that blends together with Sonic's speed and agility. A lot of the earlier Sonic games made it a point to do cool tricks off of the enemies to gain forward momentum in the level, and I think 3D Sonic games should try to implement this as well. Instead of focusing on longer fights that focus on wearing down the enemy and beating their gimmick, we should be able to do tricks off of them and progress further in the level. Or if we maintain the open world, we can use them to get a bit higher up and reach a new area that we couldn't before. The way Sonic Combat is designed right now, it just feels like a break from everything else. It feels like it suddenly thrusts you into a scenario where you take up a bunch of your time to fight an enemy that's just not very enjoyable to fight in general, which is why I feel like this would be a much better way to approach combat in Sonic games. And even when talking about other media, I can say a lot of stuff like Sonic X being really overrated and Sonic Boom being the best selling TV show, or the IDW comics really falling off after their first few issues. This franchise is so varied that there's always going to be someone defending every single bit of media that's released, and I think that's pretty cool. but it can also lead to a lot of harmful discussion, especially relating to hot takes. But now you might be asking yourself, how, and why is this happening? Well, to first understand that, we have to understand what makes hot takes go in the Sonic community in general. The way I see it, there's about 2 ways that this can develop. First, you either genuinely like this game and want to express your enjoyment of it, or you're trying to be a contrarian to the greater Sonic opinion. The first option here is pretty self-explanatory. You genuinely like a game and think that it's being overlooked by the general community, so you talk about it. But the contrarian mindset is a little bit different. When a piece of media gets so much attention that seems to be one-sided, either positive or negative, it's natural to develop the feeling that maybe everyone is wrong and maybe this deserves to be re-evaluated. This was very prevalent in the Sonic community recently due to the drought in mainline Sonic games that we experienced throughout the 2020s. Though some people took a look back at previous Sonic games and said maybe this wasn't as bad as we thought. Stuff like Sonic 06 and Sonic Unleashed got a lot of belated attention, and a lot of people praising them as some of the best entries in the series. This reevaluation of games also applying to more recent games in the meta era where the opinion on those went down. And adding to this clash was the new Sonic fans introduced to their movie and Frontiers having completely different ways of interpreting the series' quality. But all we've proven so far is that there's just a lot of opinions going around in the Sonic fanbase. How does this exactly lead to harmful discussion? Well, that's a different story. Because of the inevitability of how Sonic fans conduct themselves, it's obvious that because of all these clashing opinions, there's going to be some arguing. But the main thing that I've noticed is that some people just aren't capable of accepting that some people like a certain game. And I'm definitely not innocent in this as well. When the praise for Sonic Unleashed was going around, I was still confused because I really didn't see it from that game. But after replaying it and taking a look at it more in depth, I do see why people like Sonic Unleashed, even though I can't agree with it personally. But there's a lot of people who would just look at you and say that you're wrong and simply end the conversation there. They're not going to engage with you in a meaningful discussion. It's just going to be, I'm right, you're wrong, and that's how it ends. Especially with the flip-flopping quality of Sonic the Hedgehog, it's important to have meaningful discussion to realize what the series needs to get better in the future, but it's just unfortunate that these meaningful discussions are often cut short by a lack of understanding. I do feel like this is one of the consequences of having a series that changes direction so often like Sonic the Hedgehog, because it feels like every game is just doing something new and there's always going to be someone that likes it and someone that doesn't. It's hard to talk to someone who has a completely different outlook on the series compared to you because all of your opinions are so different that you're just unwilling to accept that someone could like this or dislike that other thing. In a way, Sonic hot takes really don't even exist because there's no real general consensus to go around. Like, sure, there's going to be Sonic games that are better liked than others, but that doesn't mean anything when you got people defending even Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric of all games. But that's about all I have to say about the topic. If you have any Sonic hot takes, just let me know down below. But for now, that's it for me, Davron, signing off.